Hello, hello, hello. This is Shevonne with Shevonne Sells Homes coming to you today with a little real estate tea. Listen, in a lot of circumstances, I'll say, your parents or your grandparents may take out a reverse mortgage on their home. Typically, that's used for like almost in the place of taking out a HELOC, a home equity line of credit, in lieu of refinancing, because typically the home is already paid off and they need the equity. They need to pull the equity from the home, so they need some extra cash or what have you, maybe for medical bills, maybe to rehab the home, whatever the reason is. So let's say they have $100,000 equity in the home, so they do a reverse mortgage on that property, and the bank then gives them that amount less their fees, right? So they do a reverse mortgage. They take out the equity in the home. They Once they sell the home, the bank will get that money back, or the property. And typically it's a lot of compound interest on the home, so they're getting the property plus tons of equity on the home, so it's appraised for much more than what they even financed it for. Now, and I say finance, but for more than what they were able to pull from the home. So the bank will be able to get more. Even if it's like a year later, they're going to get more than what they gave you the home for excuse me, for lack of better words, right? Like I said, typically the home is paid off. They don't pay anything on it monthly, but the homeowner has to continue making the tax payments, the insurance, the HOA, and all that good stuff. They have to keep the home in good standings. Financially, they can't, sell it or anything until the bank gets their money back. But between me and you, we know that the bank really wants to keep that property, right? They'll say that, that's not what we're in the business of doing. We don't want to keep the property, but of course they want to keep it, especially if it's in an area that's gentrifying and things like that. So they're going to make money hand over fist. I said all that to say, if your grandparent has done that or your parents have done that, get yourself in position to be able to buy that home back if you see fit. If you want to keep the house in the family, if you're already living in the home, and then that parent or grandparent meets their demise, they're no longer with us, and where are you going to go, right? And you say, hey, I don't want to buy another house. I'm going to stay right here until they make me leave. Well, don't stay there until they make you leave, because it can now be your property. So get yourself in position to actually get qualified to purchase that home back from the bank that did the reverse mortgage. I just closed on a property in South Florida with the scenario just like that. They were able to get approved for a little more than what the home was, what the payoff was for the reverse mortgage, so they were able to purchase their family's home back. Make sure your family member, if they're in that situation and you know that they have a reverse mortgage, make sure they get a trust, not just a will, but have a living revocable trust on the home. You can do a revocable or an irrevocable trust, right? So that there's no fights, there's no issues, that the property doesn't have to go into probate, because that's a whole nother can of worms. So as long as there's a trust in place and the trust is named by the borrower, then family members can purchase it from each other. So if there's 3 family members on that trust, whoever, all of them can then be the seller, and then whichever one wants to be the buyer, then they can do that. Or they just sell it, buy it amongst each other, however you want to work that out. But the whole point is be in position to purchase your family's property back and keep it in the family, so that the banks don't take possession of it, because of the savvy financing that they've done now a reverse mortgage. It's really good for a seller, you know, when they're in need. Sometimes they're not thinking about the ramifications at the end of when they do meet their demise, of what happens. But, you know, be in position. Be in position. Be in position. Nobody's sitting around waiting to die. You know what I mean? Let's just say my house is paid off here, and you know, I'm at the age to do a reverse mortgage, which is like 62, I believe. And I think I'm gonna live another 30-40 years to pay it off, or whatever the case may be, and then I'm out of here in like a week or two. And now, you know, I don't have things in place. I don't have a trust. I don't have, you know, my affairs in order. And then my kids have to scramble and do this, that, and the third, and, you know, figure out what they're going to do to get mom's house and keep it. So yeah, just, you know, some tea for you. Just always be ready so you don't have to get ready, but be in position. If your family member has a reverse mortgage, be in position to buy it back, because you're going to end up being at a great advantage, because basically the reverse mortgage is going to be typically what the equity is in the home, you know, plus some fees and what have you. But you're going to get a great deal in doing so, because the home is going to appraise for a whole lot more. So that's where you get equity from. Payoff. The payoff amount less what the home appraises for equals equity. If you owe $300,000 on the home and the home is worth $500,000, $200,000 of that is equity, less the fees to do the financing with the bank, which is not a whole lot. So that's the tips and the tea of real estate for today. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, or if you know anybody that's looking to buy or sell real estate, if you know anybody that is inquisitive about the reverse mortgage, purchase back, and things of that nature, for all your real estate needs, give me a call. I'm Shevonne Sells Homes. You can reach me at 404-218-9089. Have a great weekend.